yeah, ice cream is also a really cool thing. People don't understand how cool ice cream is. Dairy has such an amazing ability to absorb flavors, so you can make ice cream out of anything. So it's really just infusing the flavor into the cream or the milk, and then you churn it and it becomes ice cream. But you can do it with anything. Like anything you think of. People make ice cream out of like hay in farms, and it tastes amazing. People make ice cream out of... There's a really famous chef in Spain who was smoking a cigar while he was making ice cream and unintentionally infused the cream with the scent of the cigar. And he didn't know, and he put it in the freezer, and he came back the next day and tasted it, and he's like, what the hell is this? And he thought back, he's like, oh man, it's the smoke that I was exhaling into the ice cream machine when I was smoking my cigar. And it became one of his signature dishes. This tobacco-scented ice cream.
I think that's a fair introduction of Samantha Mugeni.
And Darren Collins.
And together we are the
Gluten
Warriors. We worry about gluten.
All the time.
All the time.
Every time. All the damn time.
I'm trying to go through what I've had at your restaurant.
Yeah.
Nuts and berries. Is there not a lot of...
So we do have berries and nuts, but more in our pastry department. We do use nuts a little bit in the main kitchen just to add texture, but I try not to have it because of the issues with allergens. We have had people in the past that have come that have been severely allergic to nuts, almost at like micro level. If there's nuts that you handle on the premises, they get an allergy, you know. And the thing is, as restaurant owners and as chefs and as people who work in the industry, it's never our intention to poison someone, if you will, or have someone have an allergy. Like, no one wants to deal with that, you know? So certain times it also is, it comes down to an understanding of where you're eating, you know? I've had people who've had celiac come to Cultiva, and I've had to go to the table and tell them, look, we do have a bakery on site. Like, how severe is the allergy? I'm going to do everything in my power. I'll cook the dish myself, but I also need to tell them that we handle wheat products on site. You know, there could be trace amounts in a lot of things that we use. There's some things that are produced in the pastry side that's just adjacent to our bakery that could have trace amounts. We have equipment that we share that could have trace amounts. So also the understanding of, yes, they are producing, you know, products that contain gluten on site. And if it's severe to the point where trace amounts can affect you, it's very difficult for us to 100% ascertain whether or not there's going to be trace amounts in your food, you know, which is a shame. We want everyone to come here and eat and enjoy the experience. So it's very difficult for us to do that. When people have allergies of that severity and I have a chance to speak to them, I'm always like, if you tell us a couple of days in advance, we can do a lot more to ensure that there's not going to be trace amounts of anything. I can cook it here, you know, whatever your meal for the day is going to be. But yeah, giving 100% kind of like, it's not going to have trace amounts is tricky. It is tricky.
Right.
That's really cool. Have you ever had to turn away someone?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. How did that go?
I mean, they were understanding.
Okay.
Look, I mean, at the end of the day, the safety of the guest is paramount, right? What one guest is going to pay for lunch is not going to make or break our restaurant. So it's a shame that I couldn't serve them, but I had to be honest with them. It was a nut allergy, and they said they're allergic to trace amounts of nuts could have give them a really serious allergy. They had an EpiPen with them, but I was like, I don't want this person to take an EpiPen. You know, I don't want them to use. Those things are expensive. No, but also just we just weren't able to cater for them, you know. And I told them, like, if you told me like a day or two in advance that you have a really severe allergy, we could have been more careful in terms of cooking in a separate kitchen. Not that we're not careful, but trace amounts is very difficult to
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to take us back to the conversation on culture and how the fusion of the culture and the food kind of elevates the dishes. And with Cultiva being in Kenya, has there been like any cultural, you know, fusions that you work with?
Yeah, so I mean, I can only speak for myself. Like I said, the owner is South American and I'm from Indian heritage. Although I'm really bad at cooking Indian food, which I'm not proud about. Yeah, it's not great.
What happened?
To be honest, my mom wasn't much of a chef at home.
Blame your mother?
Yeah. Wow. She wasn't much of a chef at home, and my grandma did most of the cooking, so I wasn't taught how to cook at home.
Right, but you know how to cook
Other
things.
dishes.
Yeah, because I went to school to learn how to cook those, you know?
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And also, I'm terrified to cook Indian food because I don't know how to cook it and I'm going to get judged. So
You'll be judged. You'll be
Indian
judged
people are
harshly.
very judgy on the food. Like, I'm not going to claim to know how to cook something when I'm like, I'm this
Yeah.
great chef. Like, oh, you're going to cook me something? It better be the best thing I've ever. It's not going to be. So I can cook it. I can't cook it well.
Yeah.
And like I said, Indian food is not food that you can read from a recipe and learn. Someone has to show you.
Really?
Yeah, like if you're going to cook your onions with some spices, the amount of time you're cooking those onions with the spices for is going to either make or break that dish. So you can read about it in a cookbook, but it's not going to happen in the pot. It's really like you have to do it with someone. Someone has to show you.
Yeah.
Someone has to show you the color of the onions after you're cooking them. Someone has to show you the way it smells. If the oil is separating from the tomatoes when you're cooking it. There's so many little things that they can't put in cookbooks with Indian food that is essential to cooking it. A lot of things that I cook at Cultiva are through all the cookbooks that we have here. Like we read about it and we take certain methods and processes and we're like, okay, we can put this into our food.
Yeah.
With Indian food, it's tough because I need someone to show me.
Okay.
And it's like, my pride is like, am I going to ask someone to show me? So, I mean, there is fusion of culture here for sure. Like I said, we have a wealth of knowledge. We always, as chefs, want to educate ourselves through cookbooks and videos and, just research, like you would with any topic. It takes a lot of research. So, South American flavors, Asian flavors, we have a few Indian flavors still in what we do. A lot of traditional English cooking comes into play because that is also in the history of Kenya. Kenyan food, not so much.
Okay.
And I tend to stay away from it a little bit because I don't feel ready enough to challenge that concept of dining.
Okay.
And I don't think that's what Cultiva is about, you know? Cultiva is about giving us something that we can't get anywhere else in Nairobi. Maybe we can take some methods of traditional Kenyan cooking or some fermentation or preservation techniques that maybe they're using and input that into our food for sure.
Yeah.
But traditional foods, again, talking about culture, I'm not trying to piss anyone off by making sure that I'm making ugali that doesn't stick to the pot, you know? Like,
okay.
it's not our place, and we also need to be quite honest with ourselves in what is our place in the culinary scene in Nairobi.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm not here to challenge Kenyan traditional foods.
Yeah, I did that once on Instagram.
Yeah?
Didn't go well at all.
Yeah,
I mean, there was 20% of Kenyans like, that's a great idea for leftover ugali.
Yeah.
And then 80% were like, how dare you?
yeah.
Do you want to tell them what you did with that ugali?
Did you fry it?
Yeah, I fried it in butter and added honey.
Okay.
It's more like a cross between a cachapa.
Even the people behind the cameras are like, this guy, man. Look at this
how
guy
dare
putting
you.
honey on ugali.
It's so good. It's like a sopapilla type of flavor with a cachapa sort of,
I mean, at least if you fried it in Blue Band, it will be truer to the...
can't do
No,
that.
guys, why are we frying ugali? Let's start there.
But you knew right
I mean,
away what I did.
you think about ugali, the first thing I would do is fry it as well. I mean, it gets crispy on the outside, it stays kind of like soft and
Exactly.
gooey in the middle. That's nice.
No,
All those
thank you.
textures work. Yeah.
Speaking of how many different, tell our viewers who haven't been here before, like what kind, you have a fermentation kitchen, you have a test
Yeah,
kitchen?
we have a lot that we do at Cultiva. Like I said, speaking about the process of food and being a part of it from the beginning to the end, we set out with the intention of whatever we're serving to our guests, we need to be a part of from beginning to end. So just behind where we're sitting right now is our fermentation area where we do our own naturally fermented sodas. So we don't buy any commercially branded sodas, we make our own.
Okay.
So using natural wild yeast that come from ginger, it's a process called a ginger bug. So it's yeast that's found on the skin of ginger that is used as a fermentation starter. And that eats the sugars that are in fruits, which are naturally occurring sugars, and then it carbonates the drink because it causes carbon dioxide as a byproduct of the fermentation. So it's a naturally carbonated soda that we do that is full of probiotics, which is great for your gut.
Yeah.
It's kind of the opposite of your commercially sold sodas that are full of unnatural sweeteners and sugars, artificially carbonated, full of colorants, and all that good stuff.
Those actually harm the gut biome.
Yeah, it's not good for
Yeah.
it. I think there was a while back where there was a theory where you put a steak in Coca-Cola and it would like disintegrate it, you know?
Disintegrate.
Yeah.
But I don't know how true that is, but
Like you could eat a penny. Or something.
yeah. I mean, it's not good for you. like I said, right now we're experimenting a lot with koji, which is the mold that's grown to make soy sauce, but you can grow it on tons of things. We're making hot sauce with it right now. We're making our own types of soy sauce with it right now. We want to grow it on vegetables to make our own charcuterie, which is a vegetable charcuterie that we want to try do. So there's tons of cool stuff we're doing with that.
So one of our favorite things that we had when we did our recon here is the avocado and smoked tuna with cassava, and there was another crispy.
Yeah, there's arrowroot and purple sweet potato.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a sort of a fusion of different things, and some of it's cultural, local.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration? And how do you think through that?
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah, it is. It's been on the menu for a while. People tend to enjoy it. Isolated, it's a good one. I think a lot of the best dishes we've had at Cultiva have stemmed from memory, or certain memory that I've had that I've tried to recreate. The best food is food that transports you to a time and a place, and is almost things that make you feel nostalgic. You know, that is kind of the beauty of food and things. Taste and smell have this ability to almost teleport us to a time and a place, right? So whenever I'm in the test kitchen, I'm kind of like, okay, what are key memories I have of food that I want to recreate for people? And I just have this memory of eating arrowroot crisps from a bag out after school. Like you'd buy it like in a clear bag with no label.
Yeah.
And it was like 20 shillings, and I was walking home eating arrowroot crisps. I was like, that is something that's delicious. And I always used to also go to the coast a lot for Easter holidays with my family.
Yeah.
And in Mombasa, there's this place called the Lighthouse, where it's right next to the port, and they have all these people who are, again, street side vendors, and they have cassava that they kind of shave, and it just falls into hot oil, and you eat it as crisps with some chili and some lemon. So that was something that I wanted to have our guests experience.
Yeah.
And our way of doing that was to have it, again, South American influence is guacamole and tortillas. So ours was like, okay, we can use this as a form of a vessel to eat whatever dip we're putting it with. So that is one way, I guess, that those cultures interact. I'm Kenyan, so I have a lot of core values and memories that are Kenyan as well. We have a sweet corn dish on the menu that's just like Mindy Choma that I used to eat on the side of the road as well. It's just sweet corn with mayonnaise, but with like a little bit of a fancier version. But that's the memory I have of that. Yeah. Before that, we used to have a baby corn that was on the dish, on the menu, sorry. That was almost a mirror image of that one. And again, that memory stemmed from the same place. So yeah, I try to, like I said, you have to tap into certain things when you're creating, because it has to have meaning. And people don't often understand, but food is an emotional thing. It's an emotional thing for chefs. I don't know how many of you, like, do you guys host dinner parties at home? Do you cook?
I've hosted parties,
Yeah.
for sure. and the idea of just having a little moments where they go, that's different, that's special. And to speak to that, also, I remember I came here with an old friend I hadn't seen in like 10 years, and there was kind of this sort of idea that maybe we might like get together somehow. You know, I hadn't seen her in a long time. And so we came here, we actually had no rapport. We had nothing to talk about at all. But the food made us laugh and talk about the food, and it became an experience in itself. It was like, it changed the date entirely to just be about food.
Oh, good. I'm happy. I'm happy my food was your wingman.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
No, but yeah, food, like I said, it's an emotional thing, right? If I'm picking core memories from my childhood and my life and converting that into a dish and serving it to thousands of people to eat, I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve, and I'm putting this out there for everyone to say it's either good or bad. Like, you can eat it and criticize it, which is also tough, right? You need to be brave to do that. You have a dinner party and you have 10 people coming for dinner, you serve them, and you're kind of like, oh, I really hope they enjoy what I'm serving them. We do that for thousands of people a week. So it is a process that it's scary. It's not easy to create and come up with this thing and serve it out for you to eat and be openly available to criticize it.
And people, when they come, also have to be ready and open.
Right.
There's been a few guests I brought here who's like, it's not really my thing.
Yeah.
Whereas like we brought Eva, and she smiled like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, when the flavor, she's this excitement comes over people's faces.
No, 100%. I think a lot of the times also when I was a younger chef, I would like, before I go to bed, I would open Google reviews and start reading through all the reviews and see the bad one and like obsess about it. Like, why didn't he like my food? But then you start to realize if we're serving thousands of people, you can't satisfy everyone, right? You do your best to have a menu that's inclusive for everyone so that everyone can kind of find what they like. But at the same time, some people just don't like your food.
Some people only are looking for familiarity.
Yeah, which is also, I mean, when we have our menu, we try to have familiar dishes. And kind of what we've noticed is we have dishes that everyone will know. We have burgers and we have pizzas and we have tacos. Not that that's the best style of cooking we can do. We can be a lot more technical than that. But we need to have things that are on the menu that are familiar.
How do you strike that balance? Because the higher ups are like the chefs with the complicated palettes, right?
Yeah.
But then there's like me, who's just coming to eat, and you need to satisfy like my. So how do you get to that place where it's like, okay, even a regular Joe or a regular Jane will be okay with this?
Yeah, I think, again, speaking about the emotional side of being a chef, I think having a lack of ego as a chef is important. You want to be this amazing chef who can do all these amazing things, which is fine. But if no one is going to eat them, then it's kind of pointless, right? So it's kind of removing the ego side from it and saying, okay, yes, I'm a talented chef, but I also appreciate the guests that come into my restaurant. I want them to be happy. That's what matters more than anything.
Yeah.
If the guests want me to make a really good burger, like, fine, I'll make a really good burger. In the test kitchen, in this space, I can be as chefy as I want. I can do all the crazy things I want to do. Some of them make it to the dish. Some of them make it to the menu, some don't. But it's also understanding that it's not my feelings that matter. It's what everyone wants to eat.
Yeah.
You know, I should enjoy what I'm doing and I should love what I'm doing because that translates into the food. But at the end of the day, you guys are what matters most to us. It's our clientele. If they appreciate the food, it's great for us. If they don't, then we need to adjust and change. And that just comes from a point of view of saying, you know what, like, it's okay to serve simple food. It doesn't have to be overly complicated, you know. And we have to evolve as the scene is evolving as well, you know. I feel like we're able to do so many things right now, but it just wouldn't translate into where we are as a culinary scene right now in Nairobi. So I don't think we're ahead of anyone, but I think we're ready for people to make that step.
Two things. We talked about nuts, and then you also talked about like traditional flavors and stuff. There was a time when you just gave, what was it, warm ground nuts to everybody?
Yeah, crickets.
What?
Yeah.
I can't explain it, but it was so good. And then I came out the next time and no one was.
Yeah. So there was this company here that was looking to, I think they're still open. It's called Insectipro. And they're farming crickets as an alternate protein source, as the most sustainable protein source.
Okay.
And crickets are something I think have been eaten traditionally, or at least the flying ants in
Western Kenya.
Yeah. So it's something that has been an alternate protein source in the past. And in terms of cost effectiveness and sustainability and bang for your buck in terms of protein, it's an amazing protein source. You get more protein in crickets than you do in fish, in beef, in anything. So they grind it down to powder or they give them to you whole and dried. So we really wanted to put it on the menu. So for almost 3 months, we were trying to find a way of getting it in a way that was palatable for our guests to eat.
Yeah.
We were handing out crickets to all our guests at Cultiva. And some were responsive to it, some weren't. And then, I found a way of, we were kind of coating them in like a candy and making them like crunchy and sweet.
Yeah, because I was gonna ask how do you remove the legs?
So the legs were the biggest problem. The thing is, with the legs on, they look like crickets, which is kind of the beauty of it. And you remove the legs, and then they just look like
something.
like larvae, and no one wants to eat that because it's not as romantic as a cricket for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. But cricket, the legs
they get stuck everywhere. They get stuck in your teeth and in your throat, and so like coating them in a candy was kind of like encapsulating them in one thing. Yeah. And then that kind of worked. And there was one day we had I had a fine dining pairing dinner. It was all these fancy people coming for dinner. It was like a 10-course meal, and then for the last course, I put all these caramelized crickets on the ice cream.
On the ice cream.
And I didn't tell them.
Oh my God.
At least the ones who were not vegetarian. And they ate it, and I told them after, and they were like, some of them were a little bit annoyed. But some of them didn't believe me, and then I brought out these crickets. I was like, no, guys, you see, you didn't know, so it's fine. It was kind of, I took some satisfaction out of that, but it is a great altered protein source, and it's a traditional food that's been eaten. And look, as chefs, we have to be educated as well, right? Yeah. We have to be the ones that are on the forefront of the fight against, sustainable eating. Towards sustainable eating, and I mean, if someone eats something that they like in a restaurant, they're more than likely to buy it in a supermarket or at a market or whatever they see it, right?
True.
Yeah.
Do you think that like maybe there's something you could have been able to do with it if you ground it?
So they do make a powder. When we did a whole recipe and cooking show that I did with crickets, and they gave me the powder, and I mixed it with corn for tortillas. Made a maize and cricket tortilla.
Yeah.
That was like a protein-enriched tortilla, which was really cool. I wanted to use maize because, again, maize is a staple of our diet in Kenya. So finding a balance between those two things and how to combine them was kind of something I was playing with.
Are there things that you've done that you think you could put into like retail or to sell like directly to people?
Yeah. So the scalability of what we do is something we've thought about a lot, and how to kind of enter into that market is a goal that we've had. It's something that we wanted to tap into a little this year, but we kind of were busy with so many things this year we didn't have the time. But a lot of our fermented products is something that we want to eventually have into retail stores. The soy sauce that we're making right now is super cool, and I would love to have that available to our guests. We just need to do it in a larger scale. A hot sauce that we're doing is also really good. It's a fermented hot sauce, so it's full of like depth of flavor.
Even your mayonnaise.
Even the mayonnaise, yeah. Chipotle mayonnaise is good. We smoke it in-house. So there's lots of condiments that we use that we want to have available to the guests. But again, it comes, kind of the key message that we've had from the beginning is we don't want to compromise on standards, and there's no amount of revenue that is going to, make us compromise.
Right.
So if we're going to scale and go into retail, we have to make sure that whatever it is going to be of the standard that is required and that we're known for.
Can I register a complaint now?
Yeah.
I came here once and they had buttered popcorn flavored ice cream, and I've been chasing that dragon. And the next 4 times I've come, it's unavailable.
Right.
That's
Why
my
is that?
complaint.
We can put it back.
Is it gone? Because I heard it was just you couldn't make it fast enough.
Yeah, people were eating that very quickly.
It's so good.
Our ice cream machine actually just recently broke, so it's getting fixed. So there's no ice cream at all for a few
and my
weeks.
whole table offered. We had tools in the car. We were like, we will fix it. Like we can Google it at least. You know.
Do you know anyone who works at KPLC that can refund us for our ice cream machine? There's a power spike that like fried the motherboard.
Oh.
But anyway, we can talk about that for hours as well. Yeah, ice cream is also a really cool thing. People don't understand how cool ice cream is. Dairy has such an amazing ability to absorb flavors, so you can make ice cream out of anything. So it's really just infusing the flavor into the cream or the milk, and then you churn it and it becomes ice cream. But you can do it with anything. Like anything you think of. People make ice cream out of like hay in farms, and it tastes amazing. People make ice cream out of... There's a really famous chef in Spain who was smoking a cigar while he was making ice cream, and unintentionally infused the cream with the scent of the cigar. And he didn't know, and he put it in the freezer, and he came back the next day and tasted it, and he's like, what the hell is this? And he thought back, he's like, oh man, it's the smoke that I was exhaling into the ice cream machine when I was smoking my cigar. And it became one of his signature dishes, this tobacco-scented ice cream. So ice cream can absorb any flavor. So buttered popcorn, it was like a really quick recipe to come up with, because it's like, that's as good stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was really, really good.
Yeah, one of the favorite ice creams that I did, we took from a book called Milk Bar, which is a dessert bar in New York. And this lady called Christina Tosi became really famous for doing this ice cream that she made with cereal milk. And she took cornflakes and kind of just kept it in milk and strained the cornflakes out. And what she was left with was like the little milk you're left with after you eat a bowl of cereal.
Yeah.
And again, you think about that, and it transports you to being a child eating cereal. Mm-hmm. And she made this ice cream out of it, and people were coming to her pastry place and trying this ice cream, and it was literally like, have you guys watched Ratatouille, the movie?
Yes.
When he eats that ratatouille, and he was like being transported to this place. Mm-hmm. And it was like, people were lining up for hours to taste that ice cream.
Oh, wow.
Like hours. And she became like crazy famous for it. Ice cream is, in all foodie cities, ice cream is always a big thing. And yeah, they get very creative with it. And I think, like I said, the more people are trusting restaurants and eating out, the more they're going to order the obscure flavor, you know?
Well, it's great for... I bring it up because for the gluten-free people, like we oftentimes just can't handle any of the desserts except for like the ice creams.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's big. It's important to me, and I hope KPLC refunds you and you get that machine back.
Yeah, me too, man. I hope all the gluten intolerant people can go strike at KPLC tomorrow. No, but yeah, it's ice cream is easy for everyone, right? I mean, we have sorbet on.
That's right.
And then for vegans, it's like, okay, you can get a sorbet. If we didn't satisfy your gluten intolerance, we're really sorry, but you can get an ice cream.
Yeah.
It's just, and everyone loves ice cream, you know? You rarely meet someone who doesn't like ice cream. If they don't like ice cream, they've just not had good ice cream.
Well, a lot of Kenyans are sensitive to the temperature. I find that a lot of Kenyans well, it's not the right weather for ice cream. Like, there's weather associated ice cream.
Right, it has to be sunny.
I feel like I can eat it in the dead of winter. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about the, it seems like there's a lot of vegetarian dishes here. And what the audience may not know is that it actually is a farm.
Yeah.
And for a long time, there was quite a few animals and it seemed larger. The farm was bigger. What's happened there?
Yeah, so as the restaurant has expanded, we've expanded into our farm space here. So what we used to have was almost 3 greenhouses where our event space sits right now, which we kind of uprooted and put an event space there because we needed more capacity for our guests. We do have a much larger sister farm that has always been there, which is in Limuru. It's actually run by one of our old chefs. So his dad had about, I think it's 8 acres in Limuru. And it was a functioning farm, but it was pretty rudimentary, not a lot of science or process behind it. So we worked very closely with him in setting up the farm, giving him some seeds, giving him some education on the correct practices. And now it's a fully functioning farm. So I would say almost 70 to 80% self-sustaining from our 2 farms right now. So the way it works is the farm that's in the restaurant is, I like to say it's our showroom. So that's where we grow whatever we grow in our larger farm. So everyone can see what's in season.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of the food on the menu is vegetarian and it's fully vegetable focused. So if we're going to have a dish that is with cabbage, the cabbage is the focus of the dish. At the end of the day, the main kind of ethos and message behind Cultiva was we were a farm-to-table restaurant, right? Farm-to-table has something that has become a little bit overplayed and oversaid, I think, in a lot of restaurants, and it's kind of one of those buzzwords that people use.
I noticed that in one of your menus. One time. You sort of gave a little dissertation.
Yeah, I mean, like we're not trying to be this hipster restaurant that says, "Oh, we're farm to table," and you're not. You know, it's like we really need to be true to our like values. And this is again all ties back to us speaking about having control of your produce from beginning to end, right? So we want the vegetable to be the star of the dish because it should be, you know. It's such amazing produce that we have a chance to use. Oftentimes people feel like they need to rediscover flavor when they're using vegetables. Like, oh, I need to add this spice and I need to do this to it. Well, it's already so full of flavor as it is. That should be the main component of the dish, and the rest is just an accompaniment that enhances the flavor of the vegetable, which is like its inherent beauty, right? So for me, it's having a large part of the menu that's purely vegetables is amazing. And it's so cool to see people coming back to Cultiva. And sometimes now it's like people who are carnivores just ordering strictly from the vegetable side of the menu.
Yeah. I've done that twice recently.
And it's so cool to see because that is how we push sustainability as well, right?
The mushroom tartare, it's like it's hearty.
Yeah.
Like if you're a beef eater, like you're gonna like that.
Yeah, exactly. And again, people trust us more, they're gonna try more of those dishes, and that's how we educate as well, right?
Well, Chef Khaled, it's been a real pleasure. I appreciate you having us here at Cultiva Farm. Is it called Cultiva Farm?
Cultiva Farm, yeah.
Cultiva Farm.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for listening and watching the Gluten Worrier Podcast. My name is Darren, and we also have Samantha closing up as well, saying goodbye. You can say goodbye.
Oh, goodbye.
And tune in next time for another episode of the Gluten Worrier Podcast, where we worry about gluten. Thanks again, and be sure to check out Cultiva Farm right here in Karen in Kenya. It's the best place. So see you next time.
Ciao.
Up next, Restaurant Review with Sam and Darren.
Did you just talk about Westminster then?
So let's move into Wasp and Sprout.
Wasp and Sprouts is this really cute restaurant in Loresho.
Is that what? Okay, Loresho.
Loresho, Nairobi.
That's not my neighborhood. I'm a Rungata guy. The really delicious thing is their breakfast thing.
Yeah.
It's some sort of waffle.
Sweet potato waffle.
Man, if you are a fan of gluten-free food, which you probably shouldn't be because most of it's garbage.
But this is good.
This is an exceptional gluten-free waffle. Because it has like, it's not honey, it has something else on it.
The syrup that they use.
The syrup they put on it is delicious. And there's an egg. I always get it. I know I get it with eggs. Bacon. Oh my gosh. It's so good. It's not average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have really good food. I had, it's like a potato pancake, I think.
I think I've had that too.
Yeah.
I think the waffle was so good that I had it.
Oh my gosh.
I end up eating the same thing all the time.
But there's like really good places to eat in Loresho that are very like low key.
Okay, so what do you think of the environment of Wasp and Sprout?
I like the space. The outdoor is like really cool. And then they don't open every day.
They don't?
They're not. There are days when they're open and there are days when they're not. I think they're open on Tuesdays for sure.
Okay. Yeah, I've never been there when it's closed, but that wouldn't make any sense anyway. But they also have, the indoor-outdoor sort of patio.
Yeah.
And it's not big, but yet it feels big, I suppose.
Like nice, intimate setting.
But the waitstaff's real cool.
Yeah, the waitstaff are cool. The service is pretty fast.
They have really interesting cocktails if you have been there in the evening.
Really?
When they do have that.
Never drunk there.
Yeah, I've had a few things.
Okay.
It's a cute spot. And it's definitely worth going just for that waffle. But again,
and then it's one of those if you know places.
Oh, is it?
Because it's not. There are no signs leading up or anything. Yeah. So because it's like in the center.
But you should try that move with the burger.
Oh yeah.
And ask for it without a bun. So can you do a lettuce wrap? And it didn't make it sound like they had done it before.
Yeah.
But when they did it, it was perfect. It's just
really
the way
good.
I would like it.
Okay.
It has a funny name for it. It's like a smash burger, might be called.
Maybe.
Might be called that.
Maybe.
Really delicious. So that's a good option for burgers too.
Okay.
For sure. Like hit that.
All right. I'll try it before I leave.
The Gluten Worriers Podcast is produced by Arro Digital. The show is executive produced by Eva and Sam Mugeni. Our editing is done by Voicebox Studios. Join us next Wednesday for another episode of The Gluten Warriors. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, AfriPods, and wherever you get your podcasts from.